Minnesotans love their birds. As a matter of fact, Minnesota is listed as one of the top bird-watching states in the country. But now lots of eyes are on a new report out just this year that finds certain birds are dying off fast. Tonight, Rena Sargentopoulos looks at why and one solution involving something you might not expect.
Consider yourself lucky to live here. Our access to nature gives us access to birds, and birds, well, let me tell you about the birds. Other than being just another pretty feather, they can improve our mental health. True story, listening to birds can help relieve stress and anxiety. It's science. They're darn good at pest control and seed dispersal. They're food for us, and not to mention, they provide the economic benefits of hunting and bird watching. So, in conclusion, birds are great. There's just one problem.
People have been making these observations for decades. It's like, just seems like there are fewer birds than there were when we were growing up.
Backing up those observations, the 2025 State of the Birds report. It shows about a third of all American bird species are of high or moderate concern due to low populations, declining trends, or other threats.
In Minnesota, we see sort of three groups of birds that are on this national watch list species.
Dale Gentry with the Audubon Society says first are birds that live in Minnesota year-round, like the greater prairie chicken and evening grosbeak. Category 2 are birds that breed in Minnesota, like the bobolink, field sparrow, and chimney swift. And then there are the shorebirds, the ones who just use Minnesota as a stopover on their migration route. They winter in the tropics and they breed way up north in the Arctic.
They fly, hop, skip, and a jump about 200-300 miles at a time, and then they stop for a couple of days, rest and refuel in the same way that we stop at a rest area on our way up to Duluth. And so they need these healthy habitats intermediate along the way.
The report found that birds that rely on grasslands or wetlands are most in danger. Grassland birds are in steep decline, losing more than 50% of their populations in the last 50 years. And one category of birds that used to be a bright spot, waterfowl, have now also seen declines. So, what gives?
The biggest driving factor for all these guilds of species comes down to habitat, right? And do they have the habitats that they need to basically reproduce and survive?
The Nature Conservancy is also paying close attention to the problem.
In the last decade or so, we've been losing, 1 to 2 million acres of grassland a year in some parts of like the northern Great Plains area, in western Minnesota in particular.
And drought in the prairie pothole region is drying up wetlands. But it's not just losing habitat, it's the quality of the habitat that remains. Invasive species, pollution, land mismanagement, there are many factors that play into this. But there is good news.
We work with landowners from Alaska down to Mexico, doing things like, buying habitat and moving it into public ownership.
Groups like Ducks Unlimited are working to restore wetlands, grasslands, and forests. Last year alone, they completed 60 conservation projects in Minnesota, like this one in Jackson County. The Nature Conservancy and Audubon Society are doing similar work, each of them getting creative and involving landowners who want to be part of the solution.
I do feel deeply about leaving this place better than I found it.
Matt Meyer owns Thousand Hills Beef. He's part of the Audubon's conservation ranching program. How he raises and grazes his cattle is actually restoring bird habitat.
What we're trying to do is mimic nature. So everything we're doing, like in moving the cattle daily and having them bunched up and grazing tightly, mimics how bison were grazing for thousands and thousands of years.
Matt moves his herds every day to make sure the grass isn't grazed to the ground, providing cover for birds. He stays out of nesting areas and makes sure there's a diversity of plants, which is healthier for the animals and the soil. In return, the birds provide pest control, so he doesn't have to use chemicals on his ranch.
And that's what nature designed, is that all these animals and birds and wildlife would all be working together to thrive.
And it's working. But maybe you're thinking, why should I care? Because it really does affect all of us.
The places that are providing habitat for birds also do things like store carbon and provide pollination services and provide water quality benefits and even flood storage. What is good for birds is also good for people.
That was Rena reporting. I love all that video. We have a list of all the birds on the watch list on KARE11.com, plus ways that you can help them in your own backyard. And even more information in a streaming special on KARE 11 Plus that you can watch right now. Just download the app for your TV and stream for free. Nothing like watching them outside in nature, but that was a close second. That
Oh,
was a
yeah.
close second. I just love that. And it made us think of our dear friend Randy Shaver, who's our favorite bird watcher of all.
Yes. Now he's doing that all the time.
Yeah, he's got a lot more time to bird watch.
All
that's
the
for
time.
sure.